I keep thinking this every time I come back to the game, like world design, freedom to explore, writing, and which is way better than the single-player Elder Scrolls games, and encouraging doing delves and public dungeons for shards, or and all are real steps forward from both the traditional questing model and the awful lore-free, story-free public events model, where you never feel like you're actually on an adventure. This skill system is magnificent and a giant step forward for the genre. Huge build diversity if you are not obsessed with the veteran trials or theory crafting. The ability to level by doing almost any activity in the game, actual skill points out in the world to discover, and relatively little class restriction with 90% of the game's skill trees and all three Trinity roles mostly viable for all the classes. The world is rich and immersive. Things like stealth being actual stealth instead of just going invisible for a few seconds, great guild quest lines, and fantastic expansion content only improve the proposition. Instance PvP is okay and very much a love it or a hate it thing. But that's true for every theme park exception the ones that really suck, like GW2's ranked PvP. 800 plus levels of alternative advancement provided ample of the progression at the end game without feeling like a huge grind, in that you can start raiding and doing veteran dungeons very early on in the champion point progression rat race. And expansions that don't invalidate previous gear progression, so there's a sense of long-term ownership that doesn't exist in some of the other games. Trying skill lines for thievery, assassinations, the mages and the fighter guilds, and the Psychic Order, and vampirism, and the I'm not too sure how to pronounce it, but lycanthropy to quest lines, and a player decision is relevation. ESO Elder Scrolls Online feels more like a real RPG than any non-old school MMO I have played anyway. The content release cadences with one large expansion zones, one small zone, one raid, and 4 dungeons per year is also pretty good. And there's the combat. The fact that ESO combat ever made it into the complete game and that ZeniMax has never even attempted to fix it. It's actually a disgrace. ESO's combat system is perhaps the most boring to ever grace the genre, the worst hybrid of the hot bar and the action, with lackluster animations, awful enemy AI, and a first-person mode that is unusable in any kind of endgame or challenging content, and even more of extreme version of the GW's the yo-yo health bars that are constantly shooting up and doing and shooting up and down as you struggle to figure out which house you are exposed to. The twin pillar of the ESO's combat are sustain and animation cancelling. Like the former involves constantly to re-upping 6 seconds dots, hots and buffs and debuffs, combat is now pure timer management. And it's obvious that the only reason there aren't toggles or longer buffs, like in the other MMOs, is to disguise the infinite of the emptiness of the combat by forcing you to press 3 buttons 10 times a minute for the length of the encounter. Animation cancelling works in the Street Fighters, or so I'm told, when the devs designed and animated for it. So there's our custom transition animations for cancelled abilities, but not in the Elder Scrolls Online, where it just feels like a bad bug left in the game to placate the meta obsessed theory crafted and artificially inflated the game's skill ceiling. You too can look like a schizophrenic of the constantly interrupting every ability in animations, weapon switching and block to spam the light attack button. And the damage increase here is so high that it's basically mandatory if you want to perform remotely well at the end game. It looks and feels terrible, just simply terrible. But other than that, I think personally that Elder Scrolls Online is a great game. There are some instances that could be improved as well, and compared to what that was the first launch, and compared to what it is at the moment, it definitely is an improvement compared. Anyway, well, tell me down in the comments, what do you think about this? I thought about making something else, something different, because I rarely make anything about Elder Scrolls Online. Maybe like, well, my channel, maybe 2 to 3 videos I only have made regarding the Elder Scrolls Online. And yeah, anyway, well, tell me down in the comments, what do you think about this? Am I a little bit wrong about it? Do you consider the combat good? Me personally, I completely think it feels terrible, it looks terrible as well. And I presume we all know why, and Fallout 76 is a little bit part of it that has implemented it into it as well. I'm not gonna mention it because like it's a whole lot of other story to talk about. Anyway, thank you so much for watching, like and subscribe. I'll see you guys later. Have an awesome day, and yeah, peace out.